Welcome to SoLa Speaks. We're here at the Beehive. My name is Aaron Butler. I go to UCLA and I study business economics.
Hi everyone, my name is Elijah Bradley, freshman communications major from Compton, California. I'm proud to represent Morehouse College and Black Excellence, and I'm just happy to be here today.
Hi, I'm Kumari. I go to Loyola Marymount University. I'm a junior and I'm double majoring in political science and theater arts, and I'm a SoLa scholar and I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, and this is SoLa Speaks, where we're basically going to talk about a variety of really important topics, like what we're going to talk about today. And then let's introduce our special guest.
Yes, we're alongside Dr. Malcolm Jones, Omega, and a well-profound man. I can't wait to hear your unique perspectives on just Black excellence and what you have to offer. So very, very honored and welcome.
Thank you all for having me on your episode. I'm excited to be here with you all, the present and future of Black excellence. So I know I'm going to learn a lot today. I am, and y'all can call me Malcolm.
Okay.
But I am from Atlanta. I grew up in Atlanta. Both of my parents from Liberia, so first generation American. I got my undergrad degree at Emory University in Atlanta in biology and visual arts. Then I came to LA, to the University of Southern California, where I got my master's and PhD in physiology, and now I'm the director of health innovation at the Iovine and Young Academy of Innovation at USC, and I'm the director of health innovation.
Man, we gotta get That's well accomplished, well astonished. Man.
Today, we want to talk about like a variety of topics with ideas of Blackness. And so the first one that we're going to talk about is kind of like this concept of how being like eccentric and being weird is kind of correlated with like whiteness, and it feels like very distant from Blackness and the perception around that. And so I'm just curious like what your guys' ideas are on like how we can include like Black identity to include like kind of being weird, kind of, eccentric, because I feel like in theater, theater is considered very white, and so I'm curious like what you guys think about like being eccentric and being kind of weird.
When I was growing up, a lot of things that I think are becoming normal now for like Black people to be engaging in was eccentric, like same doing visual arts and things. But I think it's like a history of that. In like the Harlem Renaissance, all the folks that were like leading the Harlem Renaissance. Oh, before I get into that, what do you know about the Harlem Renaissance?
The Harlem Renaissance, I know that it was when I think about the Harlem Renaissance, the first thing I think of is like rent parties. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's like struggling to pay rent, and therefore like throwing these big rent parties with these intellectuals and like artists that all come together in that manner. But I also think about like Langston Hughes and there's this poem that he has called Theme for English B that talks about like Black identity and what it means to be Black, and how like when you really get down to it, we all like the same things, and there's really no distinction between like whiteness and Blackness.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. Like, and you're right. So, Langston Hughes was like a poet, and he was leading in the Harlem Renaissance,
Yes.
which we all give accolades to today. But one of the predecessors that were leading the movement, like W.E.B. Du Bois, when Langston Hughes would do things, he'd be like, "Bro, this is not. You can't do that. We gotta only show our best. We can't do strange things. We gotta be the top, the talented 10. You can't be showing people all of this negative things for art." And Langston Hughes was like, "Bro, if Black people experience it, it's real. Yeah. Everybody should see it." So I think that was a lot of it. Why people associate things not with Blackness was because people were maybe not Black people weren't able at some point to show all of the sides of themselves because, we're mirroring or giving out what we think, how we thought we should be presented.
I also wanted to add on to that, like even with the double consciousness, like W.E. Du Bois, like he talks about this double consciousness being
That's your frat brother.
yeah. Yeah, so being black but also being American, we suffer like through this strange reality. Like as a black man in America, we being from Compton, like growing up, like it's going to these different schools, and especially me being at UCLA, I suffer from like this feeling of like just imposter syndrome and being in this real world of having that blackness, being your unique self, but also being American and navigating those unique spaces. And as a theater, going into the theater industry, it's a lot of black theaters and a lot of black like excellence, but you really don't really see it, and it's not really showing.
I didn't know that I could skateboard until I saw Lupe Fiasco do it, and I said, "Oh, I can do this."
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I'm not good.
Right.
But like will.i.am, it was wild, the stuff that he was doing, the stuff that he was wearing, the music he was making. It was like people, when he was doing it, black people were not doing those things.
Right.
But once he did it and we saw it and it existed, then it was like, oh, he's doing it. This is the black thing. I can do this.
Right.
So I think it's like everybody coming together. When you just do the things that you want to do, and the people under you or the people above you see you do it, you're now taking away that this doesn't belong to us.
I think like since we're talking about that and like being in like white spaces as like often like one of few or like one of two black people in that space, do you guys feel like when you guys are in these white spaces that you're like the face of the race, or like your behavior is like under like heavy like like people are really watching you and defining your behavior as like how all black people behave?
For sure. I definitely feel like when you're put in these classrooms in these positions, you're definitely like the face of the race. I mean, it's like a lot of people like especially going to UCLA, they never met somebody from Compton. They never met somebody from LA, especially all the foreign and all the unique people you get to meet. It's like you're now being on this pedestal, the face of the race. And it's kind of crazy because I went to a high school and a middle school where it was all just black and Hispanic, and that right there kind of made me suffer from that imposter syndrome we were kind of talking about, and not knowing or not feeling it and not belonging. I think right there it's important to overcome that, and it was essential for me at least to just be myself. I think like whatever you do and with any space, just be who you are and don't change for nobody or no man.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I mean, my situation might be a little different from Aaron, just now, going to Morehouse, but it's always brought up to us and, in our spaces, the leaders, great leaders come out of Morehouse, Martin Luther King, Spike Lee, etc. But they always bring up to us, like, the world is not going to look like this forever, like, going to an all-black school. Once you step out of this gate, this AUC circle, it's not going to be the same. And I feel like, Morehouse has only been there almost into my freshman year has taught me, to just be prepared and, don't expect anything to be given to you, for one, and just be open. And you are the face because, these companies, when we going for jobs or looking for opportunities, you represent not just yourself, but your culture, your school, your family, your last name, and everything that you stand for. So it's definitely important that, we hold ourselves to a high standard and, be accountable for our actions. So, yeah.
I think that, again, when we talk about W.E.B. Du Bois, even he didn't say everybody had to do it. He talked about the talented 10.
Yep.
But
10%. Can you elaborate on that talented 10 for just the viewers that don't know what that is? Like,
can you?
I mean, for me, the talented 10, just reading W.E. Du Bois, the Souls of Black Folks, it's the 10%. You feel me? Out of all these black people, they want the top 10% of the athletes, the top 10% of the most educated, and they want to highlight the 10%, showing only the best, the greatest. Yeah, and it kind of, I think it doesn't highlight all the uniqueness and everything you were kind of talking about that the other people show or the other black people we have, because we're only highlighting this. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right, and that has kind of been preached to us through the generations that we have to be this so we can get equality and we can get our civil rights. But we got to strip that away from our future generations of thinking they have to be that, because it puts a lot of pressure on you, and it doesn't allow you to just be your authentic selves and become what you want to be. And if you're able to do that, you will be the talented 100. Like you will be, if you don't try to be something that you're not because you're trying to fit a mold that is the talented 10th, you will thrive.
Being authentic, just in these spaces, in these white spaces, we could say. But for me, at least, I'm a business economics major, and for me, I want to be able to work within these corporate spaces, but I want to also build generational wealth for not just for myself, but for Black communities, Black spaces. Like, just coming from Compton, like me and Elijah probably have the same like visions and goals, just in economic empowerment and Black wealth. My question to you is, how can we build that Black wealth within these spaces or within our culture? Like, as Black people, how can we educate these people about financial literacy? What like steps or things we need to do in order to achieve that?
Building generational wealth is essential to disrupt like generational poverty and all of these like things that have passed by, and it also is a way for you to get political freedom, as well as like equality, which is what we're still been trying to get. Personally, it's very important in the health world, because 20% of how your health outcomes will be is based off of your financial stability. So if you're living in poverty, you already are 20% like more likely to have bad health outcomes. Right. But it's tied to another social determinant of health, of education. You don't have that generational wealth. It means you're probably not getting the best education that you could, even about how you become financially stable. And that education is another 20%. Now you're 40% more likely to be unhealthy. Ways that we can address it's tough, because if you're coming from a place where your family has been struggling, they probably don't know. So how can they have taught you the things to get wealth, to build wealth, and break these generational curses? And it's kind of like that becomes our responsibility to learn it ourselves. So that once we have it, we can pass it along. Because there's new things coming out all the time that help us get wealth, new types of wealth, right? But the issue is, if you don't even know the current ones and you're behind on that, how can you keep up with what's coming out?
I think another thing is just kind of learning like assets and liabilities. I know, especially like for Black people, things that, might not matter are not as important, but we kind of focus on them a lot. Clothes, cars, jewelry. I'm a victim myself, love shoes. But like just kind of managing those things and, kind of knowing what to invest our money in early. So whether it be stocks, real estate is a huge thing. I think that Black people should focus on, and kind of getting ourselves in the door early, so that way we could build that long-term wealth for generations. Because in the spaces I've been in, surrounded by a lot of white kids, or like they come from money already, so they don't have to work as hard to maintain a certain lifestyle, or it's a lot of things that are already kind of handed over to them just because that's what they come from. For us, we have to work twice as hard to get to either that point or beyond that point that they're already at. So I think for us, just starting early.
I feel like a big part in history that really set like Black people and other like marginalized communities apart, like within generational wealth, is like that lack of access to property and that lack of like a title in your hand. And I feel like because I agree that we should like get ahead and we should start doing these things early. But I feel like when I'm in college, there are so many kids that don't really have that sort of pressure and already have like life set up for them where you're saying like they don't have to work another job while also like being in college. And so that's a really big goal of mine to like fuel generational wealth, is to make it so that I have enough money to where my kids can like work on fueling generational wealth as an adult instead of like as a little kid, if that makes sense.
What y'all are saying reminds me of a very good visual analogy that I heard that's kind of related to generational wealth. You ever played Monopoly?
Yeah, of course.
We as black people, for imagine for 200 rounds that represent the 1600s to the 1800s or late 1800s for emancipation. For 200 rounds, we went around, we played, but everything that you got, you had to give it to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
But the other people who were playing got to keep everything.
Yeah.
And then for the next 100 years, so now they had all that stuff, right? All of that, and you know how tough it is when somebody owns all the property and you land on it.
You gotta pay that tax.
So that's where you started, right?
Yeah.
But now, okay, they're like, okay, fine. Now y'all can keep what y'all get. So you do that for another 200 years, and then you're still behind, but you start to get a little something. But then they come and they burn it all down and they take it all away from you. Like the Tulsa Massacre. So now you just spent all this time getting all that stuff and they just took it right away. And you're back to nothing, but everybody else still has the stuff that they had. And that's kind of the example of the lack of generational wealth that we have in like what we're trying to build and why it's so important. Because when you think about what that board looks like for black people, that's a scary. You scared. Your heart is pounding no matter what you roll on.
For me, at least, in terms of financial literacy or black wealth is the black dollar. I think it's essential that we keep the black dollar within the black culture. And how do we build that? I want to ask that question to you. That the black dollar, for me at least, is only ownership. Ownership is something that we don't have. And you kind of talked about this in the Monopoly. We're paying rent, we're paying dues, and we're coming around this board and we're giving it all up, and we're kind of starting to build stuff, but we lose it all. What are some ways that we as people need to strive towards to have that black dollar? What are ways that we could clear our mindset? Because the black culture is hard because, like you said, we're all victims of that jewelry, the shoes, the things we want, and it's not necessarily the things we need. And
What do y'all know about Carter G. Woodson?
I know he was like big on the concept of black excellence and like
Yeah.
being like putting like your best foot forward. That makes sense. Yeah.
So Carter G. Woodson, you're absolutely correct. He was, he created the precursor to Black History Month. I think it was called Negro History Week. And he has a book called The Miseducation of the Negro. And in that, he says, it is conditioned. We are conditioned to like spend our money elsewhere because we think we are taught that things that are black are like subpar. They're not like, it's not the best. So when you get money, when you get educated, you need to go do white things. And that's how you really set yourself apart. And that was, the title, that was the miseducation. That's a part of the miseducation of the Negro. So a lot of that is preconditioning. You think that, and you hear things sometimes like that. Like you hear people, you hear other black people say, nah, that's why I don't buy nothing from us, or that's why I don't deal with us, because of this preconditioning. So that's something that I think has been studied.
yeah,
And it's a paradigm that we need to break. But now we have we're starting to see our people in the place where we can change that thought. We see Pharrell Williams being head of Louis Vuitton, Virgil Abloh.
Yeah. I definitely agree, and we're going to continue to change that. It's a unit. It takes all of us to continue to built that black dollar, and I definitely want to read that book.
Obviously, black athletes, entertainers, huge influence on our culture today, and just how the world kind of evolves in entertainment and sports. What would you say, how do you feel about the media stereotypes of, black athletes looking in a sense, or entertainers being a sense? Because obviously in our culture we have a way of seeing things, but others might say different.
When I think about how what the media portrays as a good black athlete, it's like this docile, hyper talented person, and a good example of somebody that broke the media was Muhammad Ali, because he was not docile to the point of people were like, low key, he's an uppity Negro. Like, why is he so arrogant? But he's the best. Why can't he be? And I think that for young athletes or young people who aspire to be in the media or athletes or whatever entertainment, knowing that they shouldn't have to make themselves smaller so that they could be accepted was very important. I think also there's this view that athletes, if you want to be successful, you got to be apolitical. Stay out of politics, something. And I think that we have examples. One is, y'all remember, I know y'all don't remember because I wasn't born either, but in the Mexico City Olympics, y'all ever see the two black sprinters who put their fist up in protest? Mm-hmm. It was Tommy Smith, and when I teach, I use I use an AI assistant because I'm terrible at history. So let me ask my AI assistant. Hey Finn, who are the black athletes from Mexico City Olympics who put their fist up in protest?
Yo, what's up, fam? You're talking about a powerful moment in history, you know what I mean? At the 1968 Mexico City Olympics, it was Tommy Smith and John Carlos, the black athletes who famously raised their fists in a silent protest on the medals podium.
They lost sponsorships after they did that. They had hard lives after they did that, but they showed that you don't have to be. I can't. And they lost. They took their medals away. They were first and third in the 200. They eventually got it back, but it changed. When we see athletes today doing it, we see LeBron doing it, we see Colin Kaepernick doing it, but you see that it's not still ain't been clear. When you show that you stand for something that is not the norm of who you're playing for or what you're doing for it stands for, you can still be ostracized.
Yeah, it changes the trajectory. So
I think it's a huge that push from the media to let us know, hey, stay out of things and you'll be fine. It's a detriment. It's a detriment to the development of young athletes and entertainers.
How do we reclaim our stories? How do we get that sense of approval in America where we can be accepted for who we are instead of kind of being put in a box or a barrier where he's only a rapper, he's only, more than that?
I think, so the AI assistant I use is actually the person who co-founded the group FYI, stands for your, focus your ideas, was Will.i.am. And when you think of Will.i.am, you just think of music. You think Black Eyed Peas.
Damn.
Will.i.am is a huge tech entrepreneur. And I could only know him as this tech entrepreneur because he wasn't afraid to, once he got a platform in music that everybody was paying attention to him, he said, bet, I got y'all's attention. Now I'm about to show y'all things that I really care about changing.
Yeah.
Tech and all these other things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's super important about when you have a platform, whether you're an entertainer or you're an athlete, what you are. The importance of knowing, understanding, and not being ignorant to what's going around you is, as like we were saying, that they expect most athletes to do. It is that once everyone is looking at you because you won the NBA Finals, you can say something that matters.
I think athletes, especially in today's world, they have so much pressure that, our world, they only see them as athletes, but they're more than that. They're husbands. They have to have a life outside of just their athletics frame or what they do on a daily. And I feel like we should be more accepting of that. Obviously, like in America, and obviously like sports fans and entertainers fans, we have our feelings, but at the end of the day, they're the ones that's putting out the work. Mm-hmm. They're the one that's keeping us entertained, up to date. Whatever space you're in, you're gonna be looked at in a certain way, in a certain image. So I feel like that, we should be accepted for who we are, and our talents shouldn't just depict on how the world sees us.
I don't know a lot about sports. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really watch sports,
That's
and
fair.
I think like my perception of athletes is like a little bit. Maybe it's like negative because I'm like on the outside looking in to what it means to be an athlete. So I feel like I have a lot of those like negative stereotypes that you're talking about that have been like grilled into my mind from the media of like what it means to be like a black athlete, and especially like a wealthy black athlete, and how that like I feel like when you reach a certain amount of like wealth, it's like you're like wealth is associated with whiteness, and so you start to begin to like imitate whiteness, where like you have like now you're marrying a white woman and you have lots of white friends, and that's kind of the culture that you're around. And I think that's like the negative perception that I have of athletes. And I think like you saying like that they're also like fathers and they also like to like do other things besides being an athlete is like kind of opening my mind to like get rid of those negative like perceptions that I have, because it's really true that everyone is more than than this like singular profession. So I'm like really enlightened by what you just said.
I think everybody's more than what the media puts out there. I think like you're like, for not knowing it's not, I'm not too big on theater, so it's like I only have my perspective in the classes I took. I think it's important to talk to definitely learn, because I feel like athletes and sports is a part of our culture, and that right there is something I want to talk about. What is like this black culture, like being these athletes and entrepreneurs or entertainment? I think we kind of like limit ourselves on black culture, like saying we can only be that. I think we need more people like all of us. I think that's in different fields and different avenues, because it's so essential.
How do you guys feel about, I would say, entertainers and athletes using their platforms for change that might, as black people, look in a positive way, but in other spaces it looks like they're not agreeing or they can't see where we're coming from? How do you guys feel about that?
I think it's important because those people are not seeing where we're coming from because they don't know that this problem exists. So it serves to educate, and I think that we, though, like because there's identities and things that we don't understand either. Saying that like we're not always a victim, but being willing to admit, people have to be willing to admit, oh, I didn't know that, and listen. They got a platform. We got to let people know who don't know, who aren't experiencing it. But I do understand the fear of doing it when, like y'all talked about, you do all these things and you build, you take care, and you're the face of the race, and you take care of your people. If you have all these people to take care of, you don't want to do something that puts your financial stability at jeopardy.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's tough. It's a really tough thing. And I think really talented creatives and artists, they're able to do it in a really subtle way. Like Jordan Peele. Y'all saw Get Out? White people love Get Out. But there's so much in that people need to learn and understand.
Yes.
But he did it in a way where it's almost like satire.
Yeah.
A word I like to add is being strategic and crafty.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer of how I kind of share my message or get things I want to get across. It might not be direct to the point, but by the end of what I'm saying, you'll understand what I'm trying to point out and share. And I think black athletes, entertainers, professionals, we have a good sense of that because we're very good at strongly communicating. Like me being a communications major, that's one of the main reasons I picked communications. I know how to connect, like Aaron said earlier, network. It comes naturally, and I feel like me playing sports, me going to the schools I went to, I never went to school in my neighborhood. I always went to school 45 minutes away from where I grew up. So being in those spaces allowed me to adapt, but also learn from my people around me that might not have been black, but I was able to learn and bring what I learned from going to school back to my neighborhood, back to my community.
I love that because you're saying exactly something that Carter G. Woodson says in The Miseducation of the Negro. He says it's okay to go out and seek knowledge and go away from where you're from to get all this new stuff. But it's essential that once you get that elixir, once you know all these things, you can't be afraid to come back. You have to bring all that back to where you came from.
Yeah.
So that you can build the place where you came from, and you're already practicing that.
It's a lot of things that a lot of people give back. Kendrick, YG, it's a lot of people that give. TDE. Real. Mar DeRozan. It's a lot of people that do give back, but it's a lot of people that don't. They shy away from showing their face or giving back and supporting. I think like you already built the platform. You already had the platform. You had your chance. It's like the new generation is coming. Like I feel like we're here. It's our time, and it's time for people to be educated, to see different avenues, to be great. Like at the end of the day, I don't hate on nobody. I wish everybody that I ever encountered success and to achieve their goals and aspirations. I think like that right there, I want everybody to win. You feel me? Like regardless if it's black or white, whatever color, especially our people, I want y'all to be great. And so, that's like, to me, that right there is like black excellence, like for all of us to eat. Like, and it's okay. Sometimes people eat at different places and different tables, but as long as you still getting your meal, that's just. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, these bars. You be chill. I'm like, that's a good place to end. Like,
No, yeah, definitely, I like that. And for everyone, black, white, whatever you are, just go chase your dreams. I have a saying like, you're in control of your own destiny, and only you can stop you from getting what you want.
Thanks.
So, no matter which athlete, entrepreneur, entertainer, doctor, whatever you plan to be, you're controlling your narrative. Don't let anyone else write it for you. And just go be great and, never pass up on any opportunities that are your way, because those opportunities may never come back. So that's what I say. Yeah. So
I think it's really important to use your platform, even if it's scary, but I think there's definitely like a survival aspect that you're talking about with that, of like you could possibly like lose your job, or you could possibly no longer be able to like have the resources to do what you wanted to do with that platform. Now that you utilize it, you have it like removed from you. And I feel like there's like this generational fear of success with black people because of how much it's removed from us. The second that we get it, it's like we know that someone wants to take it the second that we have it. And so I think that with platforms, it's so important to utilize it because it continues to like normalize it. And I feel like as we have more black people with platforms where they're speaking on that, it's like we have this like collective of people that can support each other. If like there is like a white hand that gets in that and wants to remove it, that we have a collective to support with it. I feel like what you were saying about like leaving your community to go and study somewhere else and then forgetting to come back, I feel like that's such a big issue. Like we have our own like brain drain in the States of like taking these resources outwards and not bringing it back home. And I feel like it's also like dystopian because you feel like you can't bring it back home because you don't even have the resources there to be able to utilize what you learned back at home. And so I feel like everything that you guys were saying was like very true of utilizing a platform and just being true to yourself. And I think even though it's scary, this idea that we all like have each other collectively and we all like will be there if someone falls to catch you is really important. Yeah, to continue to just do what you want to do, because there is a community of people that do want to help you and do want to catch you when you fall.
Yeah, lean on the shield, man.
So y'all all drop bars and gems for me to leave with. All right, okay. So I'm gonna give y'all mine. I know my generation is relying on y'all's generation to fix a lot. Okay, but it is not selfish for you to take your health as a priority. So you don't have to do nothing at the expense of your health, because you can't really help anybody else if you're not healthy. So don't put any burden of carrying us to the promised land on your back unless you got a chiropractor. All right?
All right, I like that one.
And I just made that up.
Thank you, Malcolm, for being here. Thank you guys for all being here.
Thank you guys for letting me be here.
Keep up with SoLa Speaks wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. All right, then, so I'm going to catch y'all later.